right, party people. Well, it's that's that Tuesday of the month where we have Mr. Martz on with us. So let me start the recording, and we shall proceed with the Liberty Talk.
The Constitution isn't just a document. It's a blueprint for freedom. We're breaking down politics at every level, exposing government overreach, and going where the mainstream media surely won't. Join us in defending individual rights against the bureaucratic tide. You're listening to the Missouri Liberty Report.
All righty, folks, and we are back with another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Again, to all of those who watch on YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, or you listen on via podcasting app or at molibertyradio.us, we greatly appreciate your continued viewership and listenership. All right, so again, it is the first Tuesday of the month, and we are again joined by Mr. Tom Martz. If you've never listened to the show before, this is the first time hearing it, he is with the Locke and Smith Foundation, and they grade the legislation that passes through the chambers and on the basis of their constitutionality. But Tom, welcome back to the show. Good to have you on again, sir.
Man, I appreciate every first Tuesday that I get to be here. So I look forward to the discussions for you and Brandon and
I do as well. And I want to start off by just for some reason, I don't know. It's like I have ADD with these the amendments that are going to be on the ballot. I can't help myself. I keep seeing posts from people, and I do have a question, Tom, but the first thing is I can't even go on YouTube now without seeing advertisements to vote yes or to vote no. And the whole Amendment 4 thing is driving me absolutely nuts. And it has to do with now that this phrase gets thrown around, the dark money, there's dark money. And I see grassroots people saying dark money, dark money. And it's like, is there outside money coming into the state for certain things? Absolutely. We saw it with recreational marijuana. We've seen it with other things. Absolutely, there's some outside influence money. Some of these people do not even ever attempt to allude to how the Republicans in this state are absolutely dependent on all the lobbyist money to retain their majority here in Missouri. They don't want you sniffing around that. They don't want you talking about it. It's only the outside money for things that they don't like. But if it's things they do like or it helps them get them reelected, they're absolutely fine with these PACs or whatever. So I just wanted to get that off my chest because it's been bugged. And not like anybody really cares what I have to say anyway, but I'm going to freaking say it until I'm blue in the face. Okay. So Tom, I'm pretty sure that I am correct on this, but there's been many times in my life that I thought I was right and I've been absolutely wrong. So I will defer to you because you have the knowledge here. You have more knowledge. I did some digging around. I have had people tell me, and I've seen posts about this, that says if the legislature wants to put something on the ballot as an amendment to the Constitution, that they have to have like an 80% majority to get it through. And I'm like, no, they don't. They don't have to get 80% of the chambers to get it to the governor's desk, then to go onto the ballot. Now, am I right or am I wrong on that?
Well, you said something that was incorrect.
Okay.
The HJR and SJRs do not go to the governor.
Okay. Yeah, I caught myself after I said
it. And no, they are not. Well, see what ends up happening is somebody will put forth an HJR and SJR, so it goes through a committee hearing, and then they have these different meetings that they'll go to, and they try to make the case that because of all these different levels of scrutiny that these HJRs and SJRs get, that they're more inclined to be vetted better than anything that the people could put on the ballot. Now, keep in mind, the people put on the ballot the Hancock Amendment. So occasionally the people do get it correct. But no, there is no criteria where it requires 80% of yeses of the chamber of the Senate and the House in order for it to achieve ballot access. And once it achieves ballot access, it's a simple majority. So 50% plus one of the people who find it important enough to come to the polls to vote. So you're looking at probably maybe 20%, maybe 18% of the people of the state of Missouri actually will pass a constitutional amendment and put it into the Constitution. It's nowhere near, I know everyone says it's 50% plus one, but it's always 50% plus one of the people who actually go to the polls to cast a vote. And that is nowhere near 50% of the people who are registered voters in the state of Missouri.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because if I was wrong, then the one person that I've been interacting with, which again, I went and I looked it up several times. I went to the state constitution, tried to find something on it that gave it that threshold to pass the chambers to get it to the ballot. I couldn't find anything. I looked through everywhere else. I couldn't find anything of the like where that gentleman was correct and I was incorrect. And I'm like, I've never heard these numbers before. And I'm pretty sure if that was the case, Tom Martz probably would have brought it up on the show at some point and said, well, this is why it's equal. But I have to, I have to go back to what Tom has said multiple times in his social media posts and ask the question, why are the people, some of these people, hell-bent on neutering themselves and handing their power over to the legislature, and I can't for the life of me figure it out, except for this whole dark money scare that they keep just putting out there in the limelight and trying to scare the bejesus out of everyone. And it's really getting on my freaking nerves. I have to admit, like, I can't even go on YouTube now and not see advertisements telling me. And then there's a really clever one for Amendment 5 too, where it shows like this family sitting down eating dinner, and there's just two very large gentlemen at the table, and they're just grabbing everything in sight as it hits the table. And one says property tax, and the other one says income tax. And then finally the man of the house stands up and like pushes him out the front door. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not going to sit here and say that taxation is not burdensome to the people, because that would be an idiotic thing to say. But I don't know, just the way they do it. And I'll be honest, it's not clever to me, but it is kind of a clever commercial. I don't see anybody in the state of Missouri who really pushes this to be clever enough to make that commercial. I see them having to go from somebody like way outside of Missouri to make that commercial, which would be funny if it was done by an outside company. A commercial for something when there's another commercial talking to you about outside money with Amendment 4. So I don't know. I just find that a little ironic. I
wonder if that commercial ends with them taking the plates. They're like the man of the family finally stands up and he pushes back, takes all that food, and there's like a bigger gremlin looking guy outside called sales tax. And he's like, we've taken the plates from the income tax and the property tax guy and slinging them at the big fat gremlin-y guy outside. Have you guys also seen the Amendment 5 donkey commercial? That's the one I've seen on TV. I've seen it on TV probably 10 times now. It's just got this talking donkey who's like, yeah, Amendment 5 is great because it has to be, the only way they can raise taxes is if it's to lower the income tax. So it's a tax decrease. It's first of all, looks like it was made in Missouri. I promise you that, because it's not clever. It's not good. And as far as Amendment 4 goes, I'm just going to say, I said this last week, I think, maybe the week before. I'm going to say it again, just because the more I think about it, the more I genuinely believe it, is that the legislature wants the lobbyists to have to go to them instead of going around them and just doing it straight with ballot initiative and going to the people. Because it's big money, it's dark money corporate interests in the legislature and on these ballot initiatives. And I think the legislature's like, well, they just keep going around us. How are we supposed to get our lobbying money and fund the HRCC if they're going behind our backs and doing it with the people instead? So that's what I think on that one.
So have you seen the one with the NASCAR deal?
No.
Oh, there's one on my youngest son was asking me about it, and then he showed it to me. It's for Amendment 5. So basically, one car is Tennessee, one car is Florida, one car is, the typical one. Missouri's falling behind because we still have an income tax type deal. But it's like on Friday, last Friday, Nick and I talked about Amendment 5, Amendment 4, and we'll probably do it again this week on KSGF. And he brought up an interesting point, and I know it has some bearing, but I didn't know how much. Was that every state that they're trying to compare us to did not have a huge income tax and a huge sales tax already in place prior to them converting from one to the other. I think, and there's only like one state that had I think they had a small income tax, and they transitioned from that small income tax over to a sales tax, so it wasn't a huge hit. But according to a search that I did, it looks like Missouri last year collected $9.17 billion in individual income taxes, which represents a 1.3% increase from the previous year. Additionally, $718.61 million was collected through pass-through entity taxes, and I'm not too sure what those are, but it says they're often grouped with individual income tax revenues in state reporting. So we have a budget that's $50.8 billion, of which just say $10 billion of that comes from the income tax. And you're going to attempt to transition that $10 billion from income tax to sales tax and try to make it so that they're as close as possible when you transition from one to the other. I mean, people are going to get hurt no matter what it is that they're attempting to do anyway, because you got people who don't pay income tax who all of a sudden will be paying higher sales tax. I right now don't collect a sales tax on my service calls when I go out and service people's equipment. So that'll be a cost that I'm going to have to try to figure out how to, because now I'm going to have additional reporting, and I'm going to have to either spend more time in the books, or I'm going to have to get some sort of a program in the computer that would do it for me. And then, of course, then I have to report that, and then I have to pay the state. So it's, to me, it's not as flexible and as easy as they're trying to make it appear. And of course, we got Florida Man, who on every single post on social media that I see, Florida Man comes in and makes the case on how it is that Missouri's fallen far behind because we have an income tax instead of just a sales tax.
Well, I've brought this up before, but most states that don't have an income tax, well, there's like Alaska taxes the oil that comes through there, and that supplements their income tax. Florida and Tennessee both have relatively high tourism taxes, because me and John covered a story about downtown Nashville's property tax going through the roof. So some bars were like, their income tax was multiplying by 10 over the course of like in between, not appraisals, but whatever that's called. And so what they could do because of the tourism is they had a giant slush fund, and so they were paying out to supplement people who couldn't pay their increased property taxes. And John was laughing about that the
Oh,
last time we
God.
talked about it too. And so like Missouri doesn't have that. Like in Nevada's another state that doesn't have income tax, but they have like gambling, a huge gambling tourism business. And so that fund that covers up a lot, that is the
Offsets
stopgap
it,
on a
yeah.
lot of that. Yeah, offsets a lot of that. And so Missouri doesn't have that. We don't have any real tourism in Missouri. And so I'm not seeing where we're going to be able to do that without raising like Tom was saying, without raising the income sales tax on everything across the board.
Here's my thing too. Again, I have to ask this question. And it's the amount of people, again, that I would normally agree with on several topics as far as the government here in Missouri and how it doesn't operate within its own boundaries, are all aboard on Amendment 3, 4, and 5. I mean, they're just every time somebody posts something that's in favor of it, they're copying it and pasting it to their feed. And I'm like, what has happened to you in the last year? It's like, I'm not saying that they're actually here, but it's like APAC is a different form of APAC is in Missouri, and it's like, hey, you keep talking smack about these amendments, and we'll make sure you don't get reelected, or you won't be able to work for this guy anymore. It's almost like an APAC thing, a symptom. And I'm just trying to figure out why all of a sudden. Now, I'm not saying their loyalties clearly don't lie with the Republican Party, but they'll still have their disagreements on things. And now it's like they've thrown that all to the wayside, and they're like, we have to get all these amendments passed right now. It's like, do you all know something that we don't know? Or is there something going on in the background that we're all unaware of, that you've all suddenly jumped on board, where people that I think are generally better with their knowledge of the Constitution and other things, and it's seeming like all that information has been thrown out, and they've just fully thrown their support behind these three things. And I'm like, I couldn't disagree with you guys any more than I do right now, I don't think. What do you think, Tom?
I kind of compare that to the Ron Paul delegates who decided that Donald Trump was the greatest thing to walk the face of the earth. It's like, wait a minute, what? How can you go from a person like a Ron Paul, who's very constitutional? He doesn't want us to get involved in foreign entanglements. He doesn't want to go over and start any wars. He will provide for the common defense, but the common defense does not mean that we go over and start obliterating people. And all of a sudden, now that Trump has announced that you're going to flip over to him, what part of liberty and freedom does he actually represent? None that I can figure out. At least Ron Paul represented liberty and freedom. So yeah, it boggles my mind. I'm kind of on the outs with people who I normally kind of agree with on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just the fact that I dare point out where I don't. Part of the problem with Amendment 5 is there's no rock solid plan that anyone is actually talking about where you can go, okay, well, they're going to transition a 1% part of the income tax over to these sales taxes. That part I can agree with. So yeah, maybe this will come to fruition, but no, we have to wait until we pass it to figure out what's in it. And then we have to allow the legislative body the next 3 to 5 years to work that all out to figure out whether or not it can be done. And then when I ask people about Amendment 4, I'm like, what is the purpose of the state constitution? It is to control the government. You literally are going to put an amendment into the Constitution that doesn't control the government. It controls you and how you are going to control the government, which, by the way, you won't be able to do it after you put Amendment 4 into the Constitution.
Yeah, I guess
It boggles my mind.
yeah, we're Nancy Pelosi to the Republicans has been a laughing stock for years, especially over the Affordable Cares Act. But now where the Republicans are turning into Nancy Pelosi's in Missouri. Like, we'd love to tell you information, guys, but we got to get this. We have to get this passed in the ballot, and then we'll start working. Like, you should have been working on this well before. Because I honestly believe, gentlemen, that if they had a well-defined plan how they were going to carry this out, I think they could get a lot of people to vote yes for it. If they had some kind of something in writing that says this is how we'd like to do it. This is our approach. And if this doesn't work, we'll have to finagle it. But this is the general outline. We're getting none of that. Okay, if it's out there, I have yet to see it. And it doesn't sound like any of us three have seen it yet. So it's like, what is your plans here? Because I'm sorry, my world doesn't run on fairy dust and hope. You know, sprinkle fairy dust on it and we'll fix it and we'll get it. We'll get this squared away. Look at that. My world doesn't run that way. So yeah, it's I don't know. I wish I could figure out how they got these people to twist in on themselves and just go full send on this. And, you know, I've seen people again that I generally agree with that when you disagree with them on this, they get a little bit snide with some people. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, this is not the most civilized way or adult-like way of getting something done. This is more to the normal political behavior that we see from both sides of the aisle, seemingly, that if you don't agree with us, then you must be a liberal. We've heard that about Amendment 4 and Amendment 5. Now, here's the jacked up thing, right? You have Republicans who are all in line, especially on Amendment 4 and Amendment 5 and Amendment 3. But Amendment 4 and Amendment 5 really come to mind. And then on the opposite side, you got the Jess Pipers of the world like, hey, go to this site and you'll see how much of a revenue loss your school is going to take if Amendment 5 passes. It's like, oh, you don't have a good argument either. So the Democrats are mad because you're taking revenues away because I guess to them, no budget is too big for the state of Missouri. We'll just tax all the rich people and we'll do this and do that. And we'll also offer you a lot of handouts. And then the Republicans are like, well, if you don't agree with us, you're a liberal. I'm just here in the middle going, I hate both of you guys. And I just wish you would start acting in a manner that's appropriate to where we could get along and maybe solve some problems. I don't know. It just floors me. I don't know.
Well, I know you're going to find this amazing, but Jess Piper is factually inaccurate.
Yeah, there's no way. Again, we've stated this how many times that this woman is always hell-bent on making you believe that they're always defunding the schools. Jesus, lady. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom.
Well, the amendment literally states, I mean, of course, you can make the case that when did our state legislative body ever follow the Constitution? But I will say the constitutional amendment does specifically state that you can't defund education. It must be funded at 100% where it's at. So I don't know what her. I don't know where she's coming up with her thought process, but that wouldn't be the first time that I wouldn't know where she's coming up with her thought process.
Well, she wants to be considered, what does she call herself, like a dirt road progressive or something like that? Maybe she's been around too many fertilizers and it's messed up her brain cells. Maybe she's gotten around too much of that glyphosate and it's eating up her brain. I don't know what her problem is. But again, it's fear mongering from both sides. And that crap doesn't work on me. And I wish it would work on less people. I really wish more people would be immune to the stupidity that both of these parties are rolling out right now on these amendments. There's far too few people in the middle with common sense going, both sides of this argument are retarded. Okay. All you have to do is take a big red crayon and just draw an R on your screen when the pro side or the con side start talking about it, if it's a Democrat or Republican, the normal types, the normie types of Republic, you just write a big red R. And they're like, and the Democrat's going to get mad, like, I'm not a Republican. No, honey, I'm sorry. That means you're retarded. Like your logic's not, it's not panning out here, honey. That's what I'm trying to say. You're an idiot. I'm not saying you're Republican. I'm saying you're retarded. Sorry.
Tom, I got a question. If you know this, does it stipulate? So obviously it doesn't tell you what sales tax or what they're going to increase to supplement for it, but does it say like that they're going to start with the top ranging incomes and work their way down like it has like previous plans have laid out, or does it say it all in Amendment 5?
I don't think it does in the constitutional amendment. I could be wrong because it's been a while since I read it, but I know they have made the case that, see, if Darren Chapel gets his way, which I'm kind of, I kind of do like the fair tax. I kind of like being able to, I wish they would just stop taxing property. I wish they would stop taxing income and implement some sort of a nationwide or actually statewide retail sales tax or some sort of a gross receipts sales tax or something of that nature, because then you could exempt yourself from certain taxation. But in order to do that, they're also they create this variable while the first X amount of dollars are not taxed, and then the state sends you a monthly amount of money based on how many people are in your home to make sure that the first whatever amount of money that is made or the amount of money that is spent is not taxed. But I think there are easier and better ways to do it. I'm just not that individual to figure that out.
Well, I just think so in my opinion, part of the reason you're not hearing any plan is because I think to do this, they're going to cut income tax rates at the top. So like they're going to work their way down from the top. And so even if it's a net shift in taxes in general, it's going to be more of a burden on like the lower class and working class. And they don't want to have to admit that, because I think like if they can try to pitch it as a tax cut, like, look, we're cutting the income tax and they don't want to stop us. But if they had to admit that it's actually just a tax shift from the upper, like the highest level of the income tax, and then that's shifting to a sales tax on the general population, that's not going to play well. Whether or not it's like the fairer way to do it or the better way to do it, I promise you with Missouri voters, that would not play. And like that you're raising their, that you're raising their cost of living across the board and at the expense of the highest income earners in Missouri, especially while you're working your way down to zero. I don't think that would have played well at all. I think you'd lose harder if that was the plan versus just trying to trick people into believing you're actually cutting a tax.
And here's my biggest problem. It was just like the gas tax when they passed it. Our legislature is operating on the fact, or operating like our economy, our national economy is static and it doesn't change. There's no ebb and flow. There's no severe, rises or falls. It's always staying the same. And so they have to operate within this amendment. They're acting like our economy couldn't take a big dump. And it's like, well, if you guys have that kind of crystal ball, I'd like to be in on that knowledge that you just say, well, there's not going to be a crash in the economy. I heard something interesting on, I think it was Tom Woods' show the other day. They're talking about the whole thing with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, and everybody talks about oil and gasoline, or just the petroleum. Another interesting fact is helium. A lot of helium is brought out of that Strait of Hormuz. If that takes a sudden major decline because we can't stop being stupid, the amount of the certain types of chips rely on helium. So if they can't get the helium through to make these certain chips for the AI data centers, we could see a major downfall in the AI industry, which could lead to a significant hit to the economy. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a lot of indicators out there that are saying if you push something a little too far, you get a bubble burst, the economy takes a big dump. What's the plan then? Because if revenues fall because people are out of work, like in 2008 with the housing market crash, and you start losing revenues, what's your plan then? Because let's say you start getting in there and you've reduced the income tax maybe a little bit, but you've also increased the sales tax and a bunch of people lose their jobs over this stuff. What's your plan then? I don't know. I bring the question up because I get tired of these folks. You know, they pass the gas tax. Biden gets elected. Things happen. Gas prices go up. And they're like, and they just operated like that would never happen. Or they operated like they didn't care. Maybe that's the point. They just don't care. And they're going to get their way whether you like it or not. And they seem to be. Now, Maria 28 asks, are they going to increase property taxes for our homes? Supposedly, they're not supposed to. Supposedly, like your locality, before they do, if they want to increase something, or they're not allowed to increase it if they're showing an increase in sales tax amounts or whatever. It's got to all shift to sales tax. If they show an increased revenue in sales tax, they're supposed to reduce your property taxes, I believe is the way it's worded. So
that is correct.
It's not supposed to increase, but if this thing doesn't operate the way it's supposed to operate, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. It's hard for my brain to operate in their manner at this point. I have enough problems. Remember what I had for breakfast yesterday morning, and these people are making my brain hurt even more. It's starting to get on my nerves.
Well, I have the joy of having people replacing the gutters on my house right now.
Oh, okay.
And they absolutely have no clue of what it is that you're supposed to be doing.
You lucky guy, you.
Man, I tell you what, they had. Well, remember last month that when we started doing the show that the guy from the tow truck company was coming out to pick up my car.
Yep, I do.
Well, I still have not received a check from it. Literally, it's been 30 days. So I called my insurance agent and I said, I want to report a stolen car. What do you mean stolen car? I said, you guys have it. I have no money for it. You've got the keys. You've got the title. You've got everything that you need to reimburse me for the cost of the damages from the hailstorm. But yet I haven't received a check. So either Copart, the company that came and got the car, has stolen it from me, or State Farm has stolen it from me. Well, they don't know where the title's at. I said, well, that's kind of funny because I literally showed the tow truck operator where it was at in the car. And now since he has a title that's completely signed off, he has the keys. I don't know. Maybe he stole it. So I guess I raised enough of a ruckus today to have them, the main people from State Farm called and go, oh, no. We actually know that your car is sitting at Copart. We know where it's at. We just don't have a title for it. I said, the title is in the car. That's what you people told me to do with it. Oh, well, they shouldn't have told you that. Well, it's a little bit late now. It's like this hailstorm has been my worst freaking nightmare.
Oh, man.
And then they pick the day that we're doing the show to show up and do work. So I think it's like maybe there's some kind of collusion going on here.
Well, the funny thing is when they came and did the gutters, I kind of thought that when I went out and looked at them, I didn't think they were the correct color. But I also know that the the contractor and I had discussed we were upgrading our gutters to 6-inch instead of 5-inch.
Mm.
We get such torrential downpours that the way my roof is sloped, the water would come screaming down the thing, get put into the gutter, and just basically overflow the gutters. And it was like I didn't have gutters on the house at all. So we had decided to upgrade from the 6-inch to the 5-inch. And I know this isn't about politics, but it gives me something to talk about. So they came out, they started putting the guttering on the house, and I know, okay, well, that's not the color I'm supposed to have. But then I thought, okay, but wait a minute, we were going to upgrade to the 6-inch, so maybe the 6-inch has to be that color.
Mm.
So I'm not gonna yell at these guys because they may be doing the correct thing, and maybe I'm at fault for this. So then this afternoon, or this evening, or this morning, when I got time to call the people who were doing the roofing, who've contracted out to do the guttering, I had asked, I said, what color are the gutters supposed to be on my house? She said, well, it's supposed to be like an antique bronze, the same color that you had prior. I said, well, here, let me send you a photo of what it is that they put on the house. And it's this god awful cream yellow puke color. That's the best I can describe it. And so yeah, while we were talking, they pulled up, and I started hearing people ripping stuff up on the roof. I thought, what the heck? And lo and behold, the guttering guys have showed up, and they're trying to make amends for the downspout being in the wrong location. So I've got a guy on the roof in the back of the house trying to cut out a hole in the crap color. He doesn't understand that the guttering has to come completely off the house. He thinks that all he's supposed to do is cut a hole in it and move the gutter or move the downspout around to the back of the house, and then we're good to go. And I told him, I said, look, both the guys who did the bid on my house know exactly what it was that I want done. The lady who handles the office, they know exactly what it is that is supposed to be done. Your production department, whatever the crap that is, it also knows what is supposed to be done at this house. I'm not too sure that you guys actually are aware of what's supposed to be done at this house. And the guy goes, that I have no clue of what it is that you're talking about. I'm just here to do the job. It's like, okay.
So what did they say to you? What did they say to you whenever you sent them a picture of the gutter colors? Were they like, okay, we'll talk to our contractor and see what's going on, or what did they say?
Well, they said that they would send that to the production department, whatever that is. And then the production department said, no, it was supposed to be the antique bronze color. So we will have to send them back out to tear all that guttering off of the house and tear off all the downspouts and replace it with the correct color.
So what are they doing now?
They're tearing the guttering off of the house that they just put up 2 days ago.
Okay, I thought you were saying that they were trying to move around what was up there right now.
Oh yeah, they got the guy in the back of the house sitting on the roof is trying to cut a hole in one of the in the guttering that's supposed to get ripped off the house. He's unaware that all the guttering has to come off the house. He thinks he's just having to move a downspout from the west side of the house to the north side of the house, and he's good to go. While everyone else is ripping the gutters off of the side of the house. He's back there cutting holes in it.
Are you sure this isn't a government job? This sounds like a government job.
I'm beginning to believe that I got some people who believe Charlie Kirk was killed with a 30-06 on my roof.
I was just going to ask you when he's like, hey man, I'm just here to install the gutters, to be like, this isn't Nazi Germany. You don't just follow orders, buddy. Okay. Tone that down. We've been through that in history once before. We don't do that anymore. I mean, you do to a point, but yeah, anyway.
Well, I've come to the solid conclusion that guttering people are the absolute worst for doing a job that, you know, roofers are bad because they try to just dump stuff off of the roof, and then they crush everything that you have planted beside your house and go no harm, no foul. So I based on the way my house is designed, it's easy for them because they can back their trailer right up beside the house. They don't even have to push the shingles off of the roof. So, it was pretty good about that. But man, when the gutter people come, man, they flattened a couple bare root trees that I had planted some nice looking dogwood trees out there.
Jesus.
And I guess they didn't see the dogwood trees, so they piled the shingles on top of them.
Oh man!
Like, I just want to get the house back to normal. I want to get contractors off of my property, and from there, I can live in peace. I can start doing freeze drying to calm my nerves, and do some strawberries and blueberries, and candy, and those types of things.
Dude, I don't know. I probably would have lost my mind by now. I probably would have. Okay, so you have that, right? We bought this house, and it sounds like our roofs are really comparable because the peaks on my roof, like the pitch, it's steep. It is a very steep roof. And we needed to get a new roof put on this house. And we called people over for a bid, and they looked at it, and they're like, you could just tell. You could see the look in their eyes. They wanted nothing to do with my roof. So I had to find an outfit out of St. Louis to come down and do it. The people that put these shingles on, because one of the selling points of the house was, well, this roof's just a few years old, and they're 30-year shingles. Yeah. I had a guy come over and patch a section because I just had a section of shingles just slide off my house, starting to slide off. And I was like, that's not cool. Lo and behold, he comes down. He goes, hey, I tell you this, but you're going to have a new roof put on. And I go, why? And he goes, so he shows me the back of the shingle, and he's like, you see this line right here? And I was like, yeah. He goes, that's the nail line because that's the thickest part of the shingle. He's like, look where they nailed. They nailed like 2 inches above it, 2 inches below it. They just missed the nail line. So they nailed in the thinnest part. So the wind was getting underneath those shingles and lifting them up, and it just pulled a section free, and it started sliding down the roof. And so when we were trying to find someone, my wife was calling around, and she found this one group, this one outfit, and I know those guys are pretty reputable. And I was like, hey, and she's like, can you get over and give us a bid? And he goes, I'm sorry, we're 6 months out. And he's like, did you call these people? And she's like, hell no, I didn't call them. And he's like, I'm sorry, can I ask why? She goes, they're the morons that put that roof up to begin with. And the guy's like, well, I can't believe they did that. Talking to my neighbor that lives catty corner across the street from me, he tells me one time that the son, because it was a father-son run outfit, the son was over here, the son owned the house, was putting up siding on the east side of the house, and his dad showed up at the end of the day, and they got into a big argument standing in the yard. They both went home. He said, I woke up the next morning, I look outside, the dad is tearing the siding back off and rehanging it. But the guy that put my roof on goes, oh, by the way, the seams on your siding is running the wrong direction. He's like, it's letting all the wind behind it. And I was like, oh my God. So it's like these people were the antithesis of carpenters. And it's just like they had something against this house. I don't know if there was a ghost in here that really ticked them off or what. But it's like they did everything backwards and really halfway. Heck, we had a guy come in and blow insulation up in the attic, and then come to find out none of the exterior walls upstairs had insulation. So he cut access holes and blew the walls full. And then he tells us, hey, he's like, I set this tray of tools out. He goes, "You guys left it in the wall." And my wife goes, "It's not our tools." So somebody drywalled in a whole tray of tools in the wall too. We keep finding weird stuff about this house. And I'm like, one day the wind's going to blow the wrong way and the whole top part of this house is just going to come sliding off. Something weird's going to happen. I don't know.
See, that's why we need state licensure.
Right.
We're making the case for it. Oh no, I gotta hop off, you guys.
I've suddenly become anti-libertarian because
I had a guy, they cut me a really good rate. I had a big branch fell on my roof, and I hired this father-son team to come out and do it. I got a couple bids. They gave me the cheapest bid and he even told me, he's like, "I've never done a roof before. My dad's going to show me how to do it." So the son's up there doing it, and he gets done real fast. And that's like, man, that's real weird. So I get up there and look. He didn't replace the plywood that had been busted underneath it. He simply replaced the shingles on top. And I didn't have to call nothing. I didn't have to say nothing. I was getting ready to call. And the father had showed up to like look and see the work that his son had done and he saw that he didn't replace the plywood. So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm sending my guys up there tomorrow. They're going to actually replace the plywood up there." And it was this Hispanic guy who came and did it the next day, who actually put the plywood in. And he gets up there and he goes, "There's no plywood. Plywood broke." And I was like, "That's why you're here." I was like, "That's actually what you're here for." Is the son came out and didn't fix the plywood, had simply just reshingled. So yeah, didn't charge me any extra or nothing for it, obviously, but I still got a really good deal on fixing the hole in the roof. But still, it's one of those things, man. You don't never know what you're getting into. It could have been if the father would have just been lazy and not came and double checked the work, I would have had to call him. And yeah.
Or you got up there to do something one day and you just go through the roof.
Yeah.
Somebody booby trapped my roof. Yeah, I don't know. We've had some stuff happen in this house and I'm just like, okay. I've been really bad person in my life and this is my payment. This is my karma.
Well, see, our house was built in the 40s, so we don't have any insulation between the exterior walls and the interior walls. Basically, they framed the house and then they wrapped it with asphalt paper the whole way around, and then they put the outskirts, the wood. Crap, I forget what it's called, but basically the whole house is besides the rock face of the house. The other three sides of the house are done with this. I guess they're like 6-inch by about an inch wood slats, and they're about 8 foot long, and they go the whole way up. But literally, I have no insulation between my outer walls and the inner wall of the house anywhere around this house. And the only place we have insulation is up in the attic.
And it still maintains its insulation properties pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, but back in the day when you didn't have insulation, I mean, I guess. Well, I'm getting ready to pull off some of the facing, like on the front of the house and the sides of the house. So I may do the old Amish thing, pack hay in it. That's the way that they insulate their homes. But no, I figure if I decide to pull off the face of the house and do rock, then yeah, I might unravel some insulation sheets and try to slide it up into the wall up to the attic. That way I have something that prevents the breeze from blowing in when it gets really, really windy in the wintertime, and you can watch the blinds move in every single room.
Yeah. So to what you just said, so we don't have any ductwork that comes up to the second story. So I had an electrician come over and run me 220 upstairs. And then I put in this AC slash heat pump in the window, because there's a window right at the top of the stairs. And it's enough for like 1,200 square foot. And it does a pretty good job. But so this guy, he runs the conduit, runs the wire up through it, blah blah blah, drills a hole through the siding, brings the wire in, and he's like, "All right, man." He's like, I'm really on a downhill slope. All I got to do is cut a hole for the box for the outlet." And he goes, "I'll put that in place. I'll wire up the outlet, and you're good to go." Cool. He starts to cut the hole in the wall. And another old trick, apparently back in the day, is no insulation. So that cheap wood paneling, yeah, there were 3 layers of wood paneling, and then another layer of some kind of wood behind it. And he jacked up, I don't know how many sawzall. He had to get his sawzall out to cut the hole to mount the box. And he goes, "What is up with your house?" Because I got a hot tub for free from a customer years ago, and I had him run the line from the breaker box and run it to the hot tub. And he went to drill the hole through, and he had like a $30 bid on. And as he's drilling through multiple layers of wood, for whatever reason, there's that many layers of wood, it loosened up the bit, and the bit just fell off his drill and then down into the crawl space somewhere. And he looks at me and goes, "I hate your house." And I said, "You know what? I hate my house too." And he goes, "That was like a $35 bit that I just dropped, and I don't know where it went." And I go, "Dude, I'm sorry." He's like, "Hey, that's the risk I took taking on this job." He goes, "What is the deal with your house?" And I go, "I have no freaking clue. I know it's over 100 years old. It's a very old house. God knows what they did to get by back then, but I have nothing to do with any of this. I just bought the place. That's all I did." Terrible.
Did you guys see did you see Thomas Massey's post about talking to Mitch McConnell?
I didn't see it about him talking to Mitch McConnell, but there's interesting conspiracy theories out there, because Mitch McConnell's wife, when he went, I guess, into a medical coma or whatever it is, she jumped on a plane and left the country with all this stuff. And they're thinking like, well, if she's got all these certificates and he's just on a machine brain dead, and I guess they keep him on until some election or something, I don't know. They don't have to have a special election where Massey could run for his Senate seat. It's a wild conspiracy, but it's out there. But it is crazy that his wife just jumps on a plane and goes back to China. What? That's true love if I've ever seen it, fellas. I don't know about you, but I would expect my wife to jump on a plane and leave the country if I was just laying there in a vegetative state in a hospital bed. I would fully expect my wife to just jump on a plane and leave the country. Not really.
Let me pull it up here. Here it is. I'll just share it. One second.
All right, here we go.
I spoke to Mitch McConnell for about 20 minutes this morning. He said we should end the war with Iran, quit giving aid to Israel, stop spying on Americans without a warrant, and he's really sorry how my primary turned out.
That's pretty good. I like that a lot. What do you think about that, Tom? What do you think about old Mitch McConnell?
Is he still alive?
We're not sure. That's the big question right now.
Supposedly he's brain dead.
He's definitely voting Democrat next time.
Okay, but he's been brain dead for freaking years. Although Donald Trump now supports him, so
yeah,
that's how brain dead he is. He's got the support of Donald Trump.
Well, half the time I wonder if Donald Trump is still even there. I mean, there have been people post pictures where he's fallen asleep at different events and different venues. Of course, that was when it was Joe Biden doing that. It was old Sleepy Joe. Well, Trump's doing the same identical thing, but I've noticed the Democrats, to my knowledge, haven't come out and started. I mean, he's got Taco Tim or whatever that freaking name is that they've given him, but I haven't heard them call him Sleepy Donnie yet.
It's just they can't. You can't have propped up a brain dead president for 2 years and then have the nerve to call someone else brain dead like that. I mean, they might have a case because like I've seen the same things you've seen, Tom. I've seen him fall asleep a couple times, and I've seen him like even with the Iran war stuff. It's like he doesn't remember what he said yesterday. Like everything he says contradicts what he said 10 minutes ago. So like there's that argument for sure. But the last person I want to hear tell me about how brain dead Trump is like Governor Pritzker on MS Now trying to tell me how brain dead Trump is. I'm like, dude, you supported a brain dead president for 2 years, maybe even 4, but definitely the last 2. And so don't even try. Don't even give me the brain dead thing from you. Like, we are allowed to say it. The 3 of us, we are allowed to say it. The Democrats are not allowed to say it.
Well, it's like, you know, you want to look at him and go, says the guy that's one Twinkie away from full-blown diabetes. Like, let's not speak about other people's health, dude. You're Jabba the Hutt in human form. This article on CBS News is 2 hours old. And it says Senate GOP leaders say they've spoken with Mitch McConnell as speculation about his health continues. Said they've been speaking with him on the phone.
Did they speak to him or with him?
It says, let's see, a spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the South Dakota Republican and McConnell spoke on Monday by phone and had a lengthy and substantive conversation that covered a variety of topics, including national security. That doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. And the number 2 Republican, Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, spoke to McConnell by phone Tuesday afternoon for around 20 minutes.
That's where Massey got that 20 minutes thing from.
But they're talking about there was a call about someone in cardiac arrest and there was CPR in progress. But McConnell's staff has neither confirmed that the dispatch call was about the senator nor provided more information about why he was admitted to the hospital. So, yeah, I have no idea.
You know, it'd be a real easy way for us to confirm that Mitch McConnell was alive and well is to actually just see him in person. How about that? A sitting U.S. senator. Is that so much to ask for us to just see him in person?
Yeah, it probably is. So what's this link you posted up here, Tom?
That's Amendment 5.
Okay. I was looking at it a little bit earlier and I just
But I'm calling bull butter on the fact that Republicans are actually talking to Mitch McConnell, because Mitch McConnell has no freaking clue of who it is that he's even talking to, if he's talking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was how long ago was it the very first time he froze up at that microphone stand? I mean, he's fallen 2 or 3 times pretty roughly, but I mean, there was that time where they were like, hey, what do you think about running for re-election? And he's, I don't know. Like froze up. And then it happened a few times. Oh, Thomas Massey had another joke. I got to find that. It's funny too. Hold on. It was like, is America ready for my term limit legislation called 3 strokes and you're out? Yeah, he's been on fire since he lost his primary.
Just get ready to say, dude, he has been on a roll lately.
Oh, Tom, sorry, John, didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You probably would know more than me. I'm embarrassed by how little I know about this, the details of this. But do you know about the NDAA that is going to streamline U.S. and Israel defense tech cooperation?
Oh, yeah. I was actually listening to Dennis Kucinich was on Tucker Carlson. So I was listening to Tucker Carlson's podcast, and basically not only does it streamline the fact that the Israeli Defense Force and the United States military kind of come together in unison, it does it without a treaty, and it makes it so that in reality, they kind of mold themselves into one category. So now you've got, you know, how you got like Israel can attack Iran, and of course that we have to attack Iran first because for some reason our president can't tell Bibi that if you do something stupid, don't come to us for help because we're not going to help you out of this. But no, we have to attack. And NATO does the same thing on occasion where they'll go in and do something stupid and they'll rely on us doing it. Well, this basically gives Israel carte blanche to, it's kind of like, you know, what was the movie with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Wasn't it Twins?
Yeah, Twins. So basically we're at the point where Danny DeVito is Israel. We're Arnold Schwarzenegger. So Danny DeVito can walk into any bar, just upright and slap somebody and go, "Have I introduced you to my twin brother?" I mean, that's the feeling that I get with this whole escapade and this whole scenario is that without us, Israel can't survive. But yet they're willing to pick every single fight they can possibly pick in hopes that we will come to their aid all the time, of which we kind of do all the time.
Yeah, I don't remember what show I was listening to, but they brought this up when it was kind of like at its inception, really, you know, and or the talk was going about this bill, and they were saying that like if they had like a dual citizenship or something, and this kind of a joining of the Israeli Defense Force with our national, defense, they would get access to like the GI Bill. They'd be able to go to VA hospitals, all this other stuff out of this. And I'm like, what a slap in the face to people who've actually served in our military, that you can be either have a dual citizenship. I don't remember exactly the way they worded it, but like, oh yeah, I can come here to America and I can get I can go to college now and get $25,000 or whatever they get as part of his GI Bill. I'm like, we're seriously doing this right now. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, man, I would hope that I don't know that would happen, but I think it would be great if we saw a sudden, like really massive decline in the amount of people joining the military after that, where like enrollment in the military just plummets and a bunch of people just get out as soon as their term's up, as soon as their 4 years is up, they're like, bye. And no one's re-upping and they're just losing people. And the only scary part is they'll be like, well, we'll just bring the Israelis over here into the United States and let them, hang out here. It's like, no, please don't do that either. But, yeah.
You bring up a good point. Is like, if you're 18 right now, what is your incentive for joining the military that's not financial? I mean, like when you're watching all these unnecessary wars happen, like where's that like, oh, I got to go defend the homeland for like these people to all sign up for this? It's got to be the college, and the incentives are probably the only thing keeping our military at the numbers it is, because there's no way that like the general population of 18-year-olds is ready to like go fight and die for this country, when that just over time went from defend your country to defend your country's interests. And now it's defend another country's interests. I mean, being a recruiter right now has got to be one of the hardest jobs on the planet. At least it seems like it would be, unless you're going, hey, we're going to pay for your college and your healthcare for the rest of your life. That's, there's the financial incentive behind it. But as far as like trying to just none of the commercials say that. All the commercials are still like, we're the Marines, we're in the water, we're in the skies, we're winning because we're first place. They're not like, And I just don't know how that sells. Like, are 18-year-olds still falling for that kind of rhetoric that you're like out there defending the homeland when you sign up? Because I can assure you that's not what you're doing anymore.
What's the Marines' new motto going to be for in their commercials? Because it used to be the few, the proud, the Marines. Is it going to be like the few, the proud, the Lakuds? I mean, what's their new motto going to be, man? I don't know. Just real quick, I want to go back to something that you said earlier in the show, Brandon, since Tom shared this link to Amendment 5. Now, I'm going to read. This is line 17 here. I'm going to start at line 17. Any expansion of the sales and use tax base or increase in the state's sales and use tax rate enacted for the purpose of reducing and eliminating the state individual income tax and reducing local tax rates shall be offset in the same legislation by a reduction in the top rate of individual income tax that reduces such tax revenues less refunds by an amount that is at least substantially equal to revenues generated by such expansion of the sales and use tax base or increase in the state sales and use tax rate, and if such legislation is enacted within 5 years of the effective date of this amendment, shall not be considered new annual revenue for the purposes of Section 18 of this article and shall be exempt from the provisions of Article 4, Sections 30B, C, and D of this Constitution. So if I'm reading that right, you were correct. It's going to go after the top rate first. And then if that's what they mean, Tom, I'll ask you your opinion. Does that sound like what Brandon was speaking on earlier?
Yes.
Okay. So Brandon, you nailed it.
Good luck selling that. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked all of these grassroots organizations pushing for this amendment aren't leading with that. I'm shocked they're not leading with, hey, we're cutting the top rate income earners first.
That's because that's what the lobbyists wanted.
Oh, the lobbyists. You think the lobbyists who work for the rich people wanted the top income tax rates cut first? Whoa, go figure.
I know, it's crazy. Jesus.
No, but like I was saying, man, you're not selling that. That's one part of the bill that they're not going to talk about. That's for sure.
And here's the thing. I want people to understand, this is the first time listening to the show. If you catch this and this first time you're listening to this, we are not people who say we don't line up with people like the rich people are the cause of all of our problems and we need to tax the rich more. That is not what we're saying. We are not in that line of thinking where we believe that the wealthy are the cause of all of our problems. And then we want to eat the rich. We don't want to wear the AOC eat the rich dress, right? Or a tux in our case, because I'm not going to wear a dress. But regardless, that is not what we believe. But you're trying to sell this. They're trying to sell this as this is for everybody. But it's going to start with the top income earners and work its way down. And that is not a good look. And when will these now, again, though, Brandon, we're depending on people to actually read this. And most people aren't going to read this. If they do read it, it may not register in their minds that that's what that means. So we're basing our look at it on the way we'd look at it, and some other folks would look at it, compared to what the general population might read. If they read this, most of them probably aren't going to read it. They're going to base their opinions on commercials. Some of these Republicans or Democrats, but they're not reading this language. And therein lies the problem. That's the thing that Tom always talks about. When he
that donkey told me to vote for it. That talking donkey on the TV told me I'm going to reduce my income and property tax, so I have to vote for it now.
Hey, reminded me of that donkey from Shrek. Shrek's donkey told me to vote yes for Amendment 5. Yeah, you were spot on there, dude. And here's the thing. The Democrats' favorite talking point is the Republicans stand up for the rich first. And you're like, okay, tone it down. You guys always hating on the rich, even though your party at the national level gets money from the big bankers and all this stuff, right? So please don't go there. But at the same time, then Republicans do this, and you're like, you're not helping your cause any when you have language on the ballot like that.
And it's
so
not,
you're not helping your cause.
It's also not that they're like, if they were to say that we're not shifting taxes, like we're not increasing sales tax, we're not increasing property tax, we're cutting from the budget to cut the income tax, and then we're starting from the top income rate, because the top 1% does pay over like 60%, 50% of the taxes across the nation anyway. And so, like, again, I'm not opposed to giving top earners some sort of a tax break, but not at the expense of everyone else. Like, if it was to cut spending, that would be one thing. This is not to cut spending. This is to shift the tax burden from the top rate to everyone else with all of with the increase in sales tax across the board.
So, Tom, looking at it that way, especially the way Brandon just said it. Now, I'm being serious, but I think I know the answer, because it's probably not actually. But would you consider that unconstitutional, because they're starting with, even though this is applying to all of those who pay an income tax, but it's starting with the top earners. So it's picking out a section of the taxpayers first to alleviate their burden before it moves down the chain. Would you consider that unconstitutional or not? I could be way off base here.
Well, if you look at Article 1, Section 2, and you apply the thought process that equal application of the law, then once one group of people gets a 0.25%, let's say, reduction in their income tax, then that has to float to everybody. But the system itself, you got to remember, we're spending $50.8 billion.
Yes.
And I'm discounting the fact that the governor has gone in and started slashing. He wanted to spend $54 billion. So the legislative body agreed to $50.8 billion. The previous year it was $50.4 billion. So the fact that we didn't spend $54 billion, according to Curtis Trent, means that we saved $4 billion.
We cut $4 billion out of the budget. Yes.
Yeah, we cut $4 billion out. But let's go back a decade when it was $26 billion.
Yep.
And, unless they're going to get to the point, and I brought this up on Friday, there is no way that anyone should say yes to this until the commitment is there that we are going to eliminate, I don't care, just say $10 billion out of the state budget. Because I can't for the life of me figure out how it is that a decade ago that the state was spending $26 billion. 10 years later, they're spending double that. I look at my revenue stream coming in and out, and I don't, let's say I made $100,000 10 years ago. Well, then that means that I should have made $250,000 this year. It doesn't work that way, but for some reason the government thinks it does. I mean, we went into Sam's Club the other day. We wanted to buy some fruits and stuff so we can do some freeze drying of like peaches and strawberries and plums and nectarines. And I mean, we didn't buy a whole lot of stuff, but when we walked out of there, it was like $260. And you look at the cart and you go, there's only like 17 items in here. I remember you walked into a grocery store, you spent $260, and you had 4 grocery carts lined up behind you.
Yep, I remember
That's
that
capitalism. Too. We need more government-run grocery stores, is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
More Mom Donnies in Missouri. That's what we need. We need them all across the country.
I wonder if we elect Jess Piper to be governor, if she'll do that.
Yeah, Jess Piper for governor. Last place you thought you'd hear that endorsement was this show.
I'm being serious when I say this. I do wonder what it would be like. The budget, the spending would be like if you had a Jess Piper type person in office in Missouri as governor, or if you had a legislative body full of Jess Pipers, what our spending would be. Because our state budget is getting really close to Illinois' budget, which is bananas. I mean, I think we talked about this last week, Brandon, that $14 billion alone is for Missouri Health Net, the Medicaid part. $14.5 billion out of 50. So just over a third of the budget is just Medicaid. And because all those people thought it'd be a really great idea to vote in Medicaid expansion in the state and didn't heed now it hasn't happened yet, but there have been other states that have done this and they have lost federal funding for those programs. So again, let's say that happens, right? Let's say, because it's part of the law, it's voted in because of morons who don't understand economics. Let's say there's the federal government's like, well, we're not going to fund that anymore. And you have let's say they say we're only going to fund half. We're only fund $7 billion of this. What happens if that happens with this Amendment 5? You have to recoup $7 billion at this rate, even though every time it comes around, the governor seems to ask for more money for it. If they cut it by half and you have to recoup $7 billion, I mean, what are we doing? What are we going to do now? So they don't, I don't know how this doesn't enter the boundaries of their mind when they're concocting these things, that the federal funding may not be there one day. How do you propose that we keep this going? And they almost act like the federal government does every time a budget comes around. They just kick the can down the road. Our state legislature is, in essence, doing the same thing the feds do. They just kick the can down the road and hope. And it's like, well, I can only serve so many years. I get out, and if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, they're going to blame it on the current people, in office, not the guy that served 12 years ago. They're going to forget about me. Well, it must be nice to be able to do that, but it sure as hell doesn't help Missourians out any. So that part just blows my mind as well.
Well, I think it goes back to what Dave Smith kind of talked about with how there's a war against the middle class right now, because if you're on the Medicaid, first of all, the government doesn't actually deal in healthcare. They subsidize it. And so you've got United Healthcare. Oh man, who are the other ones? There's 3 or 4 different companies that there's 3 or 4 different plans through Medicaid that you can get. And they're all they're obviously private companies. And so if you're in the bottom, then you get the free healthcare. If you work for the healthcare company, the government is subsidizing your work. And so if you're in the middle where you don't qualify, but you also don't work for a major conglomerate that gets government favors, then that the burden is 100% on you. You are paying the taxes for someone else to have healthcare, and then you are paying more for your healthcare because their healthcare is subsidized, and now that company can charge whatever they want. And so if you're rich, you're going to do fine in this country. If you're poor, you're going to do fine in this country. If you're trying to go from poor to middle class, you are under assault right now in every aspect, in every part of your life. Beside the fact that in America, we're not actually at war. But aside from that, every your income, when you go to the grocery store, that's inflated, everything. It's all about making the top richer and keeping the bottom just satisfied enough where the middle class has to work harder than ever.
What do you think, Tom?
Well, don't forget the federal government. Out of our $50.4 billion, I think the federal government is $26 billion of that.
Yes, it is.
And the maybe even more. Maybe it's $28 billion. So if the federal government would stop funneling money to the state of Missouri, and basically this is the essence of our republic. You know, the fact that states were supposed to be sovereign countries all on their own. They didn't have a huge conglomerate known as the federal government dictating to them what they can and must do. But that went by the wayside. So you can't, anytime the federal government decides to do something, they fund it and go, oh, by the way, we'll fund it at 100%, then we'll fund it at 80%, we'll fund it at 60%, then we'll drop it back to 40, and then we'll drop it back to 20. And by the way, you, the state, you need to pick up our slack, even though we've dictated and mandated to you that this must be done because the federal government says so. The state of Missouri is in trouble. I mean, if the federal government ever decided to stop funneling $26 billion or whatever it is into the state, this state would be in huge financial trouble.
I mean, this goes back to like whenever they were making all the states raise their alcohol age, the age you could buy alcohol to 21. And states were like, oh, we don't want to do that. And the government's like, fine, we'll withhold your money until you do it. So then all the states started raising their rate to 21 because they didn't want to lose out on the federal funding. It should have been writing on the wall then that more states should have been like, oh, so this is how this works. Well, then we're just going to stop paying our federal income tax. Our state members are going to stop paying their federal income tax. And then you guys can be on your own. But no, instead, everyone curtailed all the states. They wanted that slop. They wanted that government slop money. So they just went along with it. And they raised their drinking age to 21. So
seatbelt laws, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All threat of, yeah, well, you won't get your highway funding because you didn't pass a seatbelt law, or you don't have helmet laws, or you don't have this law. So we'll cut that. And instead of the state saying, well, we're just going to have to figure out a way to do this without federal funding, they freak out and they just comply.
And then another thing is that you've got the, like whenever they were pushing the Medicaid expansion, they like the pie in the sky fallacy. They're like, oh, the government's going to fund most of this. Like whenever they were trying to get that Medicaid expansion, it was basically saying that the federal government had the money already. Missouri's just got to pass this so we can access it. Like, that's it. It's the money's already there. We just got to go. Missouri's got to get its access to this floating money in the sky. When in reality, it's just you paying more taxes. Like, that money is also your money too. It's not in just a big floating pot from a leprechaun that dropped it. It's your money they're taking.
Yep, it's I'm trying to find the. So I found a page, but this is for 2021. So the total for Missouri Health net funding fiscal year 2021, it was 1.48 billion from general revenue, 4.26 federal funding, and then it shows other at 3 billion, and it comes up to a total of 8.842 billion. But like I said, it's up to 15 billion dollars now. I just, whenever they say other, I don't know what they mean by other. Let's see. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, however, the federal government provided a 6.2 percentage point increase in the state's FMAP during the duration of the public health emergency. Yeah, sure. Okay. The federal medical assistance percentage. So yeah, so again, out of 8.8 billion, 1.48 billion came from general revenues. But then this other thing, I don't know what other means. Do you guys know what that means, Tom?
I haven't read it into that deeply, nor have I researched it to mean that deeply, but I can look into it and get back with you on an answer.
I'll have to look it up because I want to know. When they talk about funding, it always says other, and I can't imagine where they're pulling, like, in 2021, an additional $3 billion out of their hind end. I'm trying to imagine where that other $3 billion comes from, because you have the state and you have the federal government. So I don't know of any tax in Missouri that's coming up with $3 billion additionally, besides general
Well, you got
revenue.
You got grants. You got
That's true.
What are those other things called? When people bequeath you money, you know. I want to say it's like when they fund research, but they basically, I mean, grants is one. You've got all the different variations and variables. You got the interest on the net proceeds of the money that you have invested in the state budget,
Okay.
of which I would think that would have to come back into the state budget. So there are other variables that aren't specific to income tax, sales tax, federal government money. There are earnings that could be applied, but yeah, $3 billion is quite a bit of money. Those also could be fines and stuff that when they, like the insurance companies and stuff like that.
Yeah, very true. All right, Tom, we got a little under 4 minutes. Any parting words from you before we end the show this evening?
No, I noticed my gutter guys have gone. So I guess they decided that they weren't going to tear off all the guttering on the side of my house. They were going to wait and come back tomorrow, I hope. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the Martz household when I'm not here.
Yeah.
For the gutter guys to, because I'm not going to let this rest. It's either I'm going to be happy with the job that they do, or my roofing contractor is going to be driven batty by me.
So again, you said you're going to be on with Nick again this Friday, and you're going to delve into the amendments a little more on KSGF this Friday morning.
Yeah, between 7 and 8 a.m. KSGF. You can go to ksgf.com. You can also go. I've been using my Substack page to post the podcast link. I think we'll discuss Amendment 5 some more. We'll discuss Amendment 4. We're going to hold off on Amendment 3 because that one's not up on the ballot yet. 2 and 1, one's one of those things that if you think the government's doing a good job with what it is that they're supposed to be doing with the money on 1, which is soil conservation, water, stuff like that, then that's kind of like if you're happy with the job that they're doing, say yes, and if you're not, say no. But I think 2, 4, and 5 are what we're going to concentrate on Friday. Right
on. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Again, thanks to Tom for joining us in this monthly visit here on the show. And don't forget, next week, so far, we'll have Olivia and her cohort from the Ladies of Liberty Alliance joining us next week on the show to talk about that organization and things they've been doing. So we look forward to that conversation as well. And with that, I bid you adieu, and I say to you, we will be right back here next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. for another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report.